Supreme Rice. Since the 1930s, supporting Louisiana farmers and communities throughout Louisiana. To find out more, go to supremerice.com. Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Handegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson, welcome to the Tuesday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Handegriff, Jimmy Ott. Jordan Kinchin's back in the studio. Andy Isco with us on Tuesdays. And, of course, we do first class, second class, no class on Tuesdays. The Grinch is here, ready for –
well, being the gentleman that he is, he let all the ladies in first.
That's
so
nice
that
of
was
him.
always nice. Yes,
we appreciate that. Glad
Santa
that you're
Claus
with us.
himself is there. Santa Claus, bigger brother, sewer rat. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
We got sunshine and cold temperatures here in Baton Rouge.
Warming.
This morning.
Warming,
yes, it is.
though.
It's warmed up since early this morning for sure.
This is a big improvement. Yeah.
We're getting closer to the holiday. LSU ladies playing their annual field trip game this morning against Morgan State. And over 9,000 students from the Baton Rouge area. They're going to go take in the game this morning.
9,000.
That's what they expect. 9,000 students is what they are preparing for in the building. LSU's a considerable favorite, I would say, in the game.
75 points?
It got up to 75. It's back down to 73.5 here at tip-off. I suspect that the fifth-ranked Tigers will win handily.
Well,
I think Morgan State brought 8 players. But
I know she commented about her scheduling, her non-conference schedule. I mean, the conference makes the conference schedule out for you. But, usually the stronger programs, they schedule tough in non-conference and, in men's and women's too, because – it's not football. It's not a wear and tear of, you're not going to get beat up most games. If you're going to have an injury, you're going to have an injury against, Morgan State or South Carolina. I mean, it's just kind of but it's, she had a reason. I didn't catch exactly why. It's like it's kind of worked out for them, but just a little, it's different for an established, stronger program.
I've heard her talk about it. Since she got here, which was roughly year 2 of the the new rules, and I'm gonna paraphrase here what I've heard her say over and over. I'm starting with more new players every year than I ever had when I was at Baylor because the whole landscape has changed, and I would prefer to know what I have before I go play UConn and Texas and et cetera. My deal with her is kind of the same thing as Jay Johnson. You got all those rings, schedule who you want. You know better. They played a game at Duke. Duke was a preseason top 10 team, a top 12 team. They have played the toughest or one of the top 2 or 3 toughest schedules in women's basketball so far this year. So they have a losing record. They fell behind in that game 13 points, ended up winning it by 93-77. And then they played Washington State, who – whatever you think of Washington State, they beat them by 70. My deal is schedule who you want. You know how to put together a team. She's in the second to third weekend of the NCAA tournament. She's got 4 rings. If it were a lesser coach, I'd question it. For her, schedule who you feel like it. It's kind of how I feel like Jay Johnson too.
It's only to develop your team. It's just different because when your roster isn't being challenged, then, she's more of identifying roles and identifying talents even against lesser competition. Sometimes, though, that could be misleading because, a player might be able to get away with things against weaker competition. It's just not going to. And this program is going to be evaluated by when they get into deeper competition, including the tournament. But if this is helped her develop and identify the roles, and she knows, she has earned that pass. It's just different.
And she knows what she's got coming up. when they start conference play, 4 of their first 5 games in the league are against teams that are ranked currently in the top 13. They play Kentucky and Vanderbilt, who are 12 and 13. They play Texas and Oklahoma, who are 2 and 8.
That's you don't know that once you schedule put their
no, but you know the SEC is going to be tough.
Oh no, of course, but sometimes you can hit a wall for a little bit because you haven't played that level of competition, and they may have for the first 13 points of the game against Duke.
Yeah, and got themselves acclimated and.
That's nice to have it acclimated within the game.
Yes.
Sometimes it'll take you several games instead of, a couple of segments in the game. So I don't know. It's what we have. College basketball, men or women, really doesn't lack the quality non-conference matchups, and now more than ever because these neutral site tournament sponsors and. Whether they're paying you money to help your player budget, or flat out give it a monetary, which you win, and so like the New Era tournament in Las Vegas. So you see more and more. That trend is going to continue.
That tournament is already a monster. And I think it's just going to get bigger.
Double it
it's just going to get bigger.
Ridiculous, yeah.
It's going to be. It will be the defining event pre-conference from here moving forward. Wouldn't you say?
Yes. Oh yeah. The Maui Classic suffered this year,
right.
And only figures to suffer even more. And that was the premier tournament.
Yes, it was. You watch the Steelers and Dolphins last night, I'm sure.
Final score was not indicative of how bad they got beat.
Yep.
I tried to make it more complicated than it was, and said that I thought the Dolphins would be a little bit more prepared for the chilly temperatures because they had gotten this 4-game winning streak on the legs of Devon Eshane.
Yeah.
And he had averaged 120 yards a game, even when he was pulled out early against the Jets when they built such a sizable lead. 4 touchdowns as well, and taking the pressure off of the defense and off of Tua. And they start out with a 3-0 lead. The kicker missed the landing spot, gave the ball at the 40, and that was it. Touchdown, 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 touchdown. The end of the first half and early in the third quarter. Next thing you know, they're down 28-3.
4 consecutive touchdown drives, which hadn't been done, I think, in 4 years for the Steelers. And Aaron Rodgers just ding, 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 ding. I mean,
that's what he has,
right? And that's what he does. I mean, the one play a little bit down the field to Metcalf, but everything else with those 2 great big tight ends were in it. Gainwell, who was a nice back in Philadelphia, kind of a nice backup back to Saquon Barkley.
Very comfortable in Nicole.
Yes, very much so. They got him the ball a lot. They had a 1-2 punch there. Rodgers really wasn't pressured a ton. They got him on a couple of times on some third down sacks where there just wasn't anybody open. And I thought Miami tackled pretty well for the first quarter and a half of the game, and then when they got into those 4 touchdown drives, it's like, where's the team I saw tackling at the beginning of the game?
Because they're on the field too long.
Yes, that's what I thought too. And Aaron Rodgers, and
they sustain jobs. They sustain drives with their tush push, but it's a 10-player tush push.
Did you see him with his hands in his pockets?
How could you miss him?
Out behind him. Yeah.
I mean, it's 10 players. He is just sitting back, staying warm, and he ain't getting close to being involved. He's not even a secondary push. No, he's just – but you wonder why he's even on the field.
I wanted to ask you about that. What are the chances, that somewhere in an important spot that they line up in what looks like that, and then they get the defense where they want them, and then they break out of the formation?
Very, very slim.
Okay. And Rodgers is back there where he can take 2 steps forward and be in the shotgun. Charlie, the element of surprise.
Because they got the 315-pound tight end from Georgia, and he's the guy pushing. We talked about how the tight ends are the most suited to kind of be in that, have the size, strength, and the sort of agility to kind of push, the quarterback or whatever player's taking a quarterback sneak. Yeah. And so he's tailor-made for it. So they're good at it. And they're going to get that half a yard, that yard. They're going to get it. And they got stopped one on a long one. They got half of it, and the next time they got it easily. So they went back and forth on 3rd and 4th down. But it's sustained drives. It kept them because early in the game, they were 4th and 1, and they punted. I mean, it was cold. And the one thing that the cold weather did affect some games this weekend. We think it's more of the wind and other stuff, but the cold did. But it took teams a little bit, almost a half to kind of get a little bit acclimated to it. But they were fine just punting early because the yards were hard. Yards were hard, and both defenses were very tough early on.
And here we are in the AFC, a week before Christmas. Kansas City Chiefs will not make the playoffs. Cincinnati Bengals will not make the playoffs. The Buffalo Bills and Baltimore Ravens do not lead their divisions, and they're the Steelers in first place. Again, I mean, a one-game lead. They don't have anything clinched yet, but there they are again.
Yeah, and one win away in 3 tries to secure another winning season. It's one of the, all those winning seasons, all those playoff berths, but a playoff drought now as well. It's one of the more interesting evaluations of a roster, but where, I don't know, what is it? The fail rate when you hire an NFL coach is, 80% maybe?
It's high.
It's high. And for this guy to last, his tenure has outlasted a lot of. How many coaching hires have been made since they hired Mike Tomlin?
Oh gosh,
probably 100-something, huh?
Yeah, he was hired the year after Peyton was.
About 7 a year.
2006. Yeah,
7, 8.
I would say average 6 or 7.
Okay, so 20 years. Do the math, Charlie. 140, something in that range. Just a ballpark figure. It's a lot, and so he's on his way to the Hall of Fame.
And should be.
This league, I'm an anti-compiler. In this league, when you compile winning seasons every year, come on. They talked about Pete Carroll when he was with the Patriots and the Jets in a brief stint. Man, he was no, he wasn't. He actually got him to a playoff game one year. He had right at a 500 record, which is better than most new hires. Just Mike Tomlin is at his place, but I don't know, man. It's just it's a tough run right now, and it might just be a time for a new voice. Be careful what you ask for. Okay, they could go down, and I love the Mike Tomlin in my locker room. I'm not crazy about his game management.
If the playoffs started today, the Steelers would host the Chargers. What would that line be?
Steelers would host the Chargers.
Yeah.
Man, the Chargers. Los Angeles is so banged up right now. It would be Pittsburgh under a field goal.
Okay.
Basically a pick 'em.
Tied with the Chargers, but losing the conference record tiebreaker is the Buffalo Bills, who are right now the 6th seed. If Buffalo went to Pittsburgh, what would the line be?
Buffalo would definitely be favored.
That's
more than a field goal.
That's what I thought. Yeah. That's what I thought too. Which does not mean the Steelers can't win, of course. But
no. Well, they just played too, and they were sluggish, but they took a lead into the locker room, and then Rodgers gets hit, he fumbles, scoop and score, and Allen turned it up in the second half, and they kind of. Okay, y'all not ready to play for us. At their place, when Steelers playing hard as usual, home field, it's in the mud. Steelers got the lead at the break, and no, and they weren't competitive in the second half. After the big play, the defensive score.
They go to the Lions on the short week, and then they're at Cleveland. I don't know that they win in Detroit, probably not, but I think they beat the Browns, and that sets up the game with the Ravens at the end if the Ravens are still in it. So
yeah, they get the Ravens at home. Ravens will be favored in that game. They will be favored at Pittsburgh, that last game.
Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh could have it clinched by then.
That's the thing. Yeah, they hope to have it where they can rest some guys on that week. And because, Baltimore, they certainly avenged the loss on the road this past weekend, convincingly. And, they're not hitting on, especially Jackson, but they still went in there and beat a team by 24. Burrow's first shutout ever. Look, Cole was a factor. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt. Jamar Chase is dropping balls. When do we see that? So, but Baltimore will be not a touchdown favorite, but I'll probably be over a field goal favorite. in that game at Pittsburgh.
We're here at Mike Anderson's, Wesley at Nicholson. Christmas gift cards?
Christmas gift cards, yes, are available. Also, our holiday hours. Now, Christmas Eve, we're open for lunch only. So from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., some people like to get here early and hang out outside, like Sewer Rat, bang on the door. But no, 11 means 11. We open the door right at 11, so it is in sync with your cell phones and everything else. But, if you want to beat, 14, 15 elderly women to be first into the door, they just follow Sewer Rat in here. He's a nice lead block. Anyway, we're going to close for Christmas Day. Then New Year's Eve, same thing, open for lunch only. And then New Year's Day, we are open. Normal weekday times, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch and 5 to 9 for dinner. So just wanted to get everybody our holiday hours. But, yes, give the gift of char-grilled oysters. Give the gift of the seafood gumbo or the fried or marinated crab claws. Give the gift of Mike Anderson's, man. When people come in from out of town, this is a lock. We come here and we show them. They get a little bit of everything. How about that little, like the Bayou plate, the Cajun plate that they do for lunch? It's a little bit of fried shrimp, a little bit of fried catfish, a little bit of crawfish etouffee, a little bit of seafood gumbo, a hush puppy, some really good stuff. So you got friends coming in from out of town to visit this holiday season. A lock is to take them over here to Mike Anderson's.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, 1045ESPN.com, LouisianaSports.net. New Handycast, parts 1 and 2 are up now of our film study of the Lane Kiffin offense. Richard Dixon did a great job at showing you how Lane Kiffin takes advantage of matchups, how his sequencing works in film taken from Ole Miss from the last 2 years. I think you'll enjoy it if you're interested in exactly how Lane Kiffin has had so much success on offense. That's available at YouTube right now. It's all brought to you by Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com, supporting our Louisiana farmers since the 1930s. Saints win on Sunday, Jimmy. I know you guys talked about it yesterday. I got a chance to listen to a good bit of the show yesterday. Not only the Saints have a couple of wins here, 3 since Tyler Shough has become the starting quarterback, but you got a chance in all 3 of these games to win at the end. You're a favorite against the Jets, and you go on the road for the Titans and Falcons. None of those games are unwinnable.
I'd like to see him a little bit tougher competition, be honest with you. Because he's shown that he can be competitive.
Last week on the road against the Bucs, better than the Jets and Titans.
Yeah, did it with his feet that game.
Yeah, he did.
That's not something you want to make a habit of. Conditions were different, but in a tight game, I thought Max brought up the best part of them. The key third and longs, we're talking about 3rd and 8, 9, 10s, those type of plays to sustain drives into, to kind of almost put the game away. And so he had to make plays. They're down double digits in the second half. He had to engineer a fourth-quarter touchdown drive and a fourth-quarter game-winning field goal attempt drive. And that's so I've seen that. I'm not saying that, he's going to get that done every time, but he was able to do it with the game on the line against a team that is playing for something. We know that although Carolina has improved greatly, it's not because of their defense. They're one of the bottom 5 defenses in the league coming in, and they proved that they're kind of still at that spot. And the Saints' defense has been really good in this slow run the last 5 games. So continue to be a top 5 defense over that stretch, even though they gave the long, sustained touchdown drive early to Bryce Young and the Carolina offense. I'd like to – the obvious, he has given himself a cushion. It would take a real drop-off in play, in level of play by him, to not be the quarterback moving forward for next year, including drafting, the draft strategy.
Yeah.
He has built a cushion there.
I'm ready to call him your QB1 for 2026 and at this point for a couple reasons. Number one, his play, obviously. The second one is when we went into this season, you said, what are you hoping for? What are you hoping for? I said, well, best case scenario is Shook looks like your starting quarterback moving forward, and you get a high enough draft pick where you can take a difference maker at another position. I think you're kind of there. The number one pick in the draft is likely to be Fernando Mendoza, and after that, unless something happens and Ty Simpson or Dante Moore declare for the draft, and neither one of them I think will, you're probably not going to have another quarterback go in the first round. All of those guys that were at the top of the draft list going into the season, the potential first-round picks like Garrett Nussmeier and Cade Klubnik and Drew Aller, none of those guys set themselves up to be first-round picks with the seasons they've had because of injuries and other things. So if you don't have the number one pick, and they're not going to have the number one pick, then you got your quarterback, then I think you're kind of set up to move forward here, and you can take the best player available with whatever. Right now they'd be the number 7 pick in the draft. I think it'll probably end up somewhere between 7 and 10 or 11, whatever. So that's good. You've had some other young players that have started to step up. We bash Mickey Loomis at every turn, and he's deserved almost all of it. But if you got your quarterback in the second round, that's a big deal. You've moved some players for a little bit of additional draft capital. That's good. I wasn't wild about the Devon Vallée trade when they made it, but he's starting to show some signs of being the big receiver that they wanted. Chris Olave has played in every game this year, so you've got a true evaluation. If you want to make that contract, you want to extend him off of his rookie deal, you have to make that decision next spring. You've got a promising young running back in Devin Neal, who I don't think is going to be an all-pro or anything like that, but is a nice back. So you've answered some questions. The Chase Young signing, okay, is starting to look better and better. He missed the first, 5 weeks of the season, and you're like, wait, was this a mistake? But since he's been playing very good. You're a year closer to getting off of some of these other contracts. You'll make some adjustments there in the offseason. I feel better about the Saints now than I have in quite some time. Doesn't mean everything's fixed. Doesn't mean they're going to the playoffs next year. But I like where they are.
Hard to be worse or go in a worse direction than what they started.
Yes.
Okay. By first 4 or 5 games, they may have been considered to be the weakest team in the league by performance on Sunday, and with no matter how you got there, no matter your salary cap situation and everything else. But the thing we have to stay consistent, and years, and Delicano and I have stayed true on this, and that I don't care what level you are, how is your team improving over the course of your first season as a coach? How is your young talent improving? And they were a seller. And so they should be weakened after that as well. And they're playing their best ball. And your young prospect at quarterback, Kellen Moore, that's supposed to be his specialty, developing quarterbacks and offensive side of the ball. He looks comfortable in so far. He got a long way to get to that 25 start. But he's moving along better than I thought. And at least the most positive people, the most optimistic people about him moving forward have to be pleased. So, again, I'd like to see him against one of really a tougher team. I get that. But this is what they have on their schedule.
And I'm okay with him.
Because the Jets just fired a defensive coach.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm okay with him building confidence in these last 3 games. I don't need to see him against, the Broncos at this Texans defense at this point. Let him build up a little bit. These games don't mean anything in the standings anyway. So let him build a little bit here.
I don't think they'd have very little success against those teams. One team.
But those are the 2 best defenses in the league.
One league, Denver was for a while. Houston is now, but Denver still has 10 more sacks than everybody else. And that might not be. But somebody in the middle between there, Charlie. Yeah, there's a lot of teams in between the Jets and the Texans and Broncos defensively.
Probably about 28.
Yeah.
So encouraged also that the offensive line has allowed a lot of sacks. The running game has been not great, and there's still some success there. So a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel here for the New Orleans Saints.
Well, Charlie, Jeff Duncan pointed this out. Shuck has now got as many victories against teams with winning records as Derek Carr did in his entire tenure in New Orleans.
Well, the Carr bashing just never stops.
At the time they played him, huh?
Correct.
Yeah.
Also, his Rookie of the Year odds went from
250
Oh
to
no,
1.
he's got a little juice.
250 to 1 down to 25 to 1.
He's probably not going to win it. Travion Henderson, I think, is the favorite
current
right
favorite,
now.
but he kind of came out of nowhere last week, and so you can make big waves late in that award.
If he finishes in the top
he's been
five,
doing it for a little bit, Max. I mean, I know he had the big run against Buffalo.
Just in terms of the odds.
He's been putting these 75. He had a late start. So,
Yes.
I mean.
Ramondre Stevenson was their lead back for probably the first 6 or 7 games
Right.
of
Well,
the season.
he is their guy, and he's busting like a 75-yard every week.
If
now.
Shook finishes in the top 5 in the Rookie of the Year voting, this is a huge win. Okay, if you'd have told me in August, hey, Shook's going to finish in the top 5 in the Rookie of the Year, sign me up.
With their
I'm in.
with their closing schedule, he's got a good opportunity.
I mean, I don't think he's going to win it, but if top 5 is
But
fine.
why is he passed up Dart is because Dart's only got 2 wins, 2 starts, 2 wins. Against the Eagles, in his first one against the Chargers. And Shuck with fewer starts has more wins. And so how much is the schedule? How much is the supporting cast? How they've been? Both are missing pieces. There's no doubt. But he is, yes, if he's going to finish top 5, top 10, you've got less invested than a guy like Jackson Dart. But I was wondering about Dart's his odds because they're just going to have a hard time winning games moving forward with all the injuries that they have. All that they have invested on defense, they're just not that good on that side. Don't forget our friends at K&M Automotive on Siegen Lane. Siegen across Siegen Lane from Ambrosia Bakery, 8445 Siegen, just off of Perkins. It's the only place I take my vehicle. Jason Payne is open 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday, and he's got a great business that he has going on because so many people gives people an honest deal. Doesn't upcharge you for unnecessary work. Going to try to find a repair option before a more costly replace option. So, EJ, it didn't like his oil change. They didn't reset the oil change. Just wanted to make sure. Had to get a tire rotation. Went in. They were busy. Said, come back at this time. We'll be able to get you in much more conveniently. He did. He's in and out within 20, 30 minutes, and he's on his way. So that check engine light comes on. You're not a trained mechanic like they have over at K&M. Bring it in. We'll find out exactly which run for and handle it for you. Tell them that you heard it right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. K&M Automotive, 8445 Siegen Lane, just off of Perkins, across Siegen from Ambrosia Bakery.
Live at Mike Anderson's. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Heading out to Las Vegas, deep in the desert, lives one man. One man of many sports bets. The one and only Andy Isco.
Andy, how you doing, buddy?
Jimmy, I'm doing fine as we're getting ready for the start of the college football playoffs and, of course, the final 3 weeks of the NFL season. And it's still hard to believe that there's like almost a quarter of the league with 3 wins or less. I think it's 6 or 7 teams. It's been a year of the very good and the horrible teams. And the 2 teams that I actually still have rated number 1 and 2, Rams and Seattle, and they're very, very close. And if you take a look at the quality of opposition that the Rams have beaten this year, their 11 wins have come against teams that are winning like 55% of their games against everyone other than the Rams. Everyone other than the Rams against the rest of the league. That's how good the Rams have been this year.
It can be tricky on trying to determine the strength of schedules before the season, but some of the NFC West, and I know that San Francisco was considered to be the easiest, and they've got quite a record for they've had key injuries. They've been okay. Purdy missed some time. Now the Mac Jones gave them quality backup quarterback time when he was there. There's no doubt about that. He played at a higher level than most backups would. But yeah, I mean, being the bully is part of it. It's something that we don't talk about as much because there aren't any random wins in the NFL. But man, some of the teams this year.
Oh yeah, and when I do strength of schedule every week as I'm doing my analysis. And obviously, I base strength of schedule based upon what the teams are doing this year. not what they were expected to do with their season loss totals, which is, what you should do before the season starts. A lot of people in the NFL strength of schedule at the end of the year shows what they did based upon, for the coming year, it's based upon what their records were for the previous year. When I do my analysis in the summer for strength of schedule, I look at the season over-under win-losses because that's a better indication of how strong the lines makers expect these teams to be. And then as the season goes on, I use what their actual win-loss record is. So just a little follow-up on that to put the numbers in context. The 11 wins that the Rams have had have come against teams 79 and 64 against everybody else. That's
why New England's game against Buffalo was sort of a prove it. They built a 21-0 lead. They lost and looked like once it started going bad, they just didn't have any answers. Is this a candidate for maybe, kind of what we talked about it a lot this year? And then on the other hand, Denver won their game against a playoff-bound Green Bay Packers at home.
Yeah, and you wonder if Indianapolis has already shown signs of that, although the injury to Daniel Jones clearly changes the entire complexion of the team, but they had started to struggle before he got injured, and now with New England's getting into the tough part of its schedule, we'll see how they fare. The other team that I was concerned about, and it actually goes back to the Survivor contest, the Chargers. If you took a look at their schedule as you were preparing how to play Survivor throughout the season, you could not really, based upon what we thought and what's turned out, you really would not be able to play the Chargers after, I think it was the first 13 weeks of the season, because their last 5 games, 14 through 18, are against playoff caliber, playoff-bound teams. And so I want to see how they fare. The Chargers have actually been an interesting team because kind of like Baltimore, but unlike Baltimore, they've had injuries consistently all year, and Buffalo, I guess, to a certain extent as well. And the Chargers have been able to overcome those injuries, especially those offensive line injuries that started really back around week 2 or week 3. For them to be 10-4 right now, and I think they are the number one or number 2 wild card right now. This team, and we said this when Harbaugh signed as coach last year, that he was able to turn teams around. Remember, with the 49ers, he got them to the Super Bowl in his second season. He has the possibility of doing that right here with the Chargers team, especially with Kansas City no longer a factor. We don't know if Baltimore is going to make it. Buffalo's almost certain to make it the way that they are right now. They're a game behind New England, but more importantly, they're 10-4 already.
We think the Rams in San Francisco are a little bit more established, but we get about 6-7, Charlie, upstart 10-win teams in the NFL that you have to bring up the conversation, fraud or not. Seattle with 11 wins. Chicago with 10 wins. You go on with Denver and the Chargers out the AFC West. Jacksonville has 10 wins. The Patriots have 10 wins. Buffalo's established. We know that. But, of all those teams, fraud or not.
Who's got the best defense out of everybody you just named? I would say right this second, probably Seattle. Out of those teams that you just named.
I like Denver better.
Okay.
Defensively. Yeah.
By the way, Houston will be in the conversation next week. They are 9-5. And
they're 9-5 right now, but I had to cut it off somewhere. So
so Seattle and Denver's defense pretty close.
Yeah, our teams that have not yet won 10 games, Houston I think ranks up there with a chance as well, especially with their offense coming around nicely.
Who was that, Andy?
Houston.
I think Houston's a legitimate, not just to win a game or two. A Super Bowl possibility. That defense is traveling, and Stroud is getting back. Nico Collins showing you some signs that he's getting in rhythm a little bit. They could have, if they were a little bit healthier, and this goes back to before the season even started with a guy like Tank Dell. But they're no fraud to me.
And they played 4 playoff games the last 2 years. Let's not discount that playoff experience.
Yeah, that helps. Yeah.
One of the things I was looking at, and we talked about it on Sunday with Green Bay and Denver, and people, and I talked to some pretty sharp people who still are not all that enamored of the Denver Broncos, and they were looking at Green Bay and saying, look how well Green Bay has played over the last 4 weeks. Yes, but if you look at the year-to-date totals, I think this would surprise people. When you look at scoring differential, not that it's a big indicator, but at least gives some idea, Green Bay has scored 75 more points than they had allowed up until last week. Denver was right there at 73. So based upon what they've been able to produce, those teams were a lot closer than the fact that just Green Bay had been able to win 4 games in a row. The fact that Denver's won a lot of close games, I think, is a positive because they have the confidence and they know they can win the close games. Green Bay, they're still a very good team, and they're going to be effective. I'm really looking forward. By the way, that's another team that may get their chance to win because they have that tie in there. They're 9-4-1. That should be a great game against Chicago this week, and I think the winner of this game goes on to win the division.
And Sean Payton, it gives you just such an edge on the sideline. We're talking about a guy who's been to 3 conference championship games, has won a Super Bowl, 18 playoff games in his career. He's not foreign to games of that magnitude.
He has shifted, his aggression on the play calling from over the course of the season and course of games. And he kind of shifted in a little confidence level in Knicks, and he performed and was getting it out quick, and had 4 touchdowns and no interceptions on Sunday. But we've seen this thing where he has flat out shut him down at some games this year.
Well, they have been able to run the football and take time off the clock, and they don't look for the big 70-yard bomb play. They'll be able to take their chunks of yardage with runs or passes that gain 8 to 10 yards and just methodically move down the field and take 7-8 minutes to end the drive.
Andy, have you done any research or any angles for the bowls coming up? It's a little bit tough to try and figure out some of the opt-outs. We've done our fair share over the weeks. We'll get share when we got a bowl game tonight as well. But or for the college football playoff, they have a strong opinion on these 4 matchups.
Well, the first one, I do like one of the games this week before the college football playoffs, and I do like South Florida. I know the coach is heading over to Auburn, and he won't be coaching this game, but South Florida has really been dominant this year as far as the way that they've played a lot of their games, and they've looked good. Of course, they had a nice start to the season, and I think that they're going to have a pretty good, successful effort tomorrow. I think they're laying right now. I think I saw the line is still around around 3. Yeah, against Old Dominion. They've had a nice season, but Old Dominion did not play well in a lot of their conference games. I think South Florida won a lot of their games by huge margins, and I think their only 2 losses were, I don't remember one of them. One of them was, I think, not all that good, but maybe I'm confusing with a different game. But I do like South Florida tomorrow. As far as the college football playoffs, can Alabama beat Oklahoma? This is not Nick Saban's Alabama. Oklahoma has shown that the 2 years that they've been able to play the game close, their defense has taken charge, and Alabama's inability to run the football has hurt them basically all season. And I wouldn't be surprised if Oklahoma pulls it off a third time. I know there's revenge and everything, but this is a different team with Kalen DeBoer than it was with Nick Saban. I don't think Nick Saban ever had a running game that was as bad as the one that we've seen out of the Tide this year. The other games, I might take a look at James Madison in the first half against Oregon, and then possibly Oregon for the game, because I think Madison could probably hang in there for a half, considering the huge spread. But I think after halftime, Oregon's speed and their overall talent is just going to wear them down. So that's the way that I would approach that game. Tulane, Ole Miss, we've already seen that game this year. I don't know what we'll see here, but I certainly could find it very difficult given the talent gap and the way that first game went. I can't find much of a reason to play Tulane. That doesn't mean I'll play Ole Miss. And I would not be shocked if Miami beats Texas A&M outright this week.
Yeah, I'd say Tulane has it's been a big separation, disparity between them at home and on the road, including the road game at Ole Miss. And probably the worst game was that midweek game against Texas San Antonio, where McCown completed like 31 of 33 for all kinds of yardage. Both of the quarterbacks, Joseph for Old Dominion, who has 2,600 yards and 1,000 yards rushing, and also Brown for South Florida, who's in that 3,000, 1,000 passing and rushing. Both of those guys are out for that bowl game coming up as well.
Yeah, Joseph's in the transfer portal. Brown is actually trying to contemplate whether he wants to come back. I think he's a senior, but he's got another year, or he could put himself into the draft.
Yeah, he is, but he is definitely out. For that game. So, and with Golish, and I mean, how many players is he going to bring? That roster's not bad. He's going to bring some of those players to the Plains to play in Auburn, but he's out as well. Andy, what's that?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say I'll be tonight. I like this Jacksonville State team all year, but I'm not quite sure they're going to be able to get by Troy. But if I were playing the game, and I haven't decided yet, I would look at Jacksonville State money line.
They've already accomplished one of the things. Rich Rod left and took some key players with him to Morgantown, and this season's been a really good one for them. Lost the conference. That's a battle of two teams that lost their conference championship game. They lost with when Kennesaw State scored in the last minute of the game last week.
This is Jacksonville State's third season at the FBS level, and they've been to bowl games all 3 years.
Yeah, they both the teams don't even have to leave state for this one to go to Montgomery. Thank you, Andy. We appreciate it, buddy. Follow Andy.
Which, by the way, makes this a recruiting game for these two teams.
There you go. There you go. Follow Andy on Twitter at VegasAndy711. LogicalApproach.com is a great read as well to try and pick up some angles and information to help out your handicap. And Andy with us each and every Tuesday at this time. Don't forget our friends at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds of Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings. 296-0060. Full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Ashley Donald, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt, Mariana Haynes, Natalie and Bradford Smith buying, building, refinancing. Nobody choose but you. Call Chad Reynolds, a Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
50-17, 50 to 17 at the halftime?
52-17.
52 to
35-point lead at the half.
Okay.
I
think the ladies are going to probably win that one.
Yeah, I'm actually watching this game. I'm on a 6-7 watch because it's a, big, young crowd. I'm sure they're hoping it falls exactly on 67 at some point.
Big part of our demographic listening.
Yeah, I can explain that, but I won't because it means nothing. But the kids love 67 right now, so.
6-7, Charlie.
I know. I looked it up, too. We don't have to explain how much older we are than that demographic. But, I said that to a younger person over the weekend. And I was like, why? I don't know why it came up. But why would you give such credence to something that means absolutely nothing? And she came back with the best answer I have heard yet. She said, "You like Seinfeld, right?" I said, "Yeah."
That's funny.
She said, "That was a show about nothing. And you've been quoting that show your entire life." And I had to shut up.
I like the episode when he's pitching the show, pilot.
It's about nothing. It's about nothing. And it's like, if you watch a show about nothing constantly, then who are you to judge?
I
had to shut up.
All about wit and creativity instead of all the bells and whistles, the effects and things. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it was. Yeah. And it wasn't really about nothing, but they pitched it as a show about nothing. So
it puts the excitement back into the first extra point of the game.
Sure.
I mean, so it's just. But if they, when they get close to 67 points, if they get close to a 67-point lead, this is probably a record. Actually, I think this is a record. Okay. You tell me another time we spent so much time that you had a line at least 70 points or higher.
I can't think of one.
Tell me another game you remember a spread being 70 points or higher.
The spread, this is a football game, so it's obviously different. When SMU was coming off probation and they played that Houston team with Andre Ware, and they were a 63-point.
It was 63?
It was 63, and Houston scored 95 points in the game. SMU was basically playing with a team of walk-ons, and they were playing the Heisman Trophy guy. That's the one I always remember as biggest spread. 72, 74, whatever it ended up being. Never have heard of that. Come back with first class, second class, no class on the other side. We're at Mike Anderson Seafood, Wesley at Nicholson, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch, first class.
I want a seat in first class where I was booked and ticketed over a month ago.
Second class.
No man should be subjected to the indignity of being labeled or treated like a second-class citizen.
And no class.
Life had become like school on Sunday. No class. I'll tell you what then. Why don't you call me sometime when you have no class?
First class, second class, and no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. Buy local with Louisiana-based Supreme Rice since 1936.
And return here at Mike Anderson's, Wesley at Nicholson. Christmas gift cards available right now, all the way through Christmas Eve.
Yep. Yeah, every $100 you spend, get a $20 bonus card free. So come on by and check us out. Don't forget our holiday hour special. Our schedule as well. Christmas Eve, we're open for lunch only. Christmas Day, we are closed. New Year's Eve, we are open for lunch only. New Year's Day, business as usual. 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch and 5 to 9 for dinner.
All right, first class. Let's talk about Dunham. State champions last Thursday, 34-17 win in the finals. And Elijah Haven accounted for over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, 271, 3 touchdowns and a pick through the air, 136, 2 touchdowns on 27 carries on the ground. And Dunham wins it, doubles up Calvary, 34-17. Jimmy, next year when he is, I guess, the number one player in the nation, certainly number one quarterback or whatever, maybe we're talking about the highest rated recruits ever to come out of Baton Rouge. Is he going to be at the top of the list? The absolute top of the list? I was going through names, okay, of the last 25 years, highest rated high school players to come out of Baton Rouge.
Mark Dunn, Billy Cannon Jr.
You're going back a little bit further, but yeah, those two.
Travis Minor,
Marcus Spears,
Michael Clayton.
Lyle Collins was extremely highly rated. And I'm trying to, you go back a little bit further than that, all the way back to Billy Cannon himself. Haven's going to be as highly rated, I think, as any player we've seen in the city limits of Baton Rouge. Certainly since I've been covering this.
No. It's build up was really, really good as a freshman. At that age, he's the best that I'd ever seen at that position. His build is what you would want. I mean, it's a perfect build, solid upbringing. I mean, not gonna be the guy. It's gonna be, here's gonna be getting in off the field trouble and things like that. I'm curious though why his mechanics have kind of gotten to where they are, where he's releasing the ball from his armpit as opposed to fully extended. Making him, decreasing his size like that. Nope, I've never seen a guy do that. I don't know what's going on with the mechanics in that. Maybe because he's so much bigger, he's gonna bring it down. I don't know. But it's noticeable when you first see it because it's just nobody throws a ball like that at a higher level.
Of mild concern to me, is that he has spent the majority of his time playing at the lower level. I mean, he's playing at Dunham. I'm talking about against. Would I rather him have played more against 4 and 5A teams in his high school career? Yeah. But when I say mild concern, Peyton Manning played at Newman, which was AA.
Peyton and Eli.
Yeah, and Eli. And, of course, Arch as well. But although they're a little bit bigger school now than they were.
No.
No?
Not at all.
Not at all? Okay.
Not at all.
Okay. And Josh Booty played at what was then a Class A school and certainly was not over. So, like I said, mild concern about that.
Some people, because it's an easy connection, say that it's caused Manning's slower development. I disagree. And look, Dunham schedules U-High every year.
Yeah.
So that's playing against Lamar Brown and those guys. So, and he's been productive. He's been comfortable the whole time. So I would have. He got his championship. They lost a heartbreaker last year. So, and they'll be heavily favored to win it again next year as well. Went for 2 in the semifinal game against Lafayette Christian. So that was a big one. So it was a
heartbreaker for your Shaw Eagles, man.
An all-timer.
Yes, an all-timer to be into the victory formation and lose the game.
Speaking of Dunham, it was a Dunham Episcopal State Final in basketball that I called that Jordan Wright, who went to Vanderbilt and then to LSU, hit the game winner with about a second to go. It was tied. They milked it down. He hits about a 17-footer to give them the lead and the win. but time left on the clock. Bench empties as they all come up. Give Episcopal 2 free throws. Kid hits the first, misses the second, and ball game is over. Same type of thing. Took your helmet off with time left on the clock. Gives you a free timeout and a personal foul. And the next thing you know, you got a punt instead of running it out. And
shank the punt.
And then the kid gets his second shot after missing the extra point with a minute to go, and he nails the 44-yarder. An all-timer.
Yeah.
An all-timer. I mean, maybe St. Aug Bonneville, where the guy runs back to the end zone and just throws it up on the last play.
Yeah, I remember that.
Thinking of, Dale Brown. Was it John Williams that threw the ball in the backcourt?
Yeah, it was John Williams. I was thinking,
threw the ball in the backcourt,
yeah.
thinking the clock stopped when you just inbound
against Tennessee
or Georgia.
Against Georgia, yeah.
Georgia.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, there was another clock game with Tennessee in that era as well. Dale Brown.
Yeah, John didn't know that the ball didn't.
Yes,
the clock didn't start when the ball hit the floor. That you had to touch a person, and oh, yikes! And then my other first class, Army-Navy, the game delivered again with the fourth down to go for it. It almost always does if you're going in there looking for a absolute slobber knocker, hard fought game that usually most of the time is not a blowout. You get the competition.
Army
they
had
go for it on fourth down.
Army last year, it was role reversal. Army was the big favorite, 11-1, won the American Conference Championship against Tulane the week before, and big favorites, and Navy pulled off the upset. Navy went on to beat Oklahoma in a bowl game as well. This year, Army was the underdog, and they came out smoking, just could not finish it. So Navy wins again. And Blake Horvath, who had a heck of a Keenan Reynolds, who was the other? Malcolm Perry. When Navy's got a really good quarterback, and Horvath was really good. So they same old same for Navy, Charlie. Disappointing season. They've won a lot of games. They didn't cover a lot of games.
Right.
They were at one time 7-0, but 0-6 against the spread. They have one VMI non-board team. And I said, it's been a disappointing year for Navy. Charlie goes, Jimmy, they're undefeated. It's like they hadn't covered one time.
Right. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
That's right.
Yeah. Second class, good with a chance to be great. All right, hear me out on this. Zion Williamson came back over the weekend. Stop. Okay, I know. Zion. Came back over the weekend, first game in over 2.5 weeks. Because why? Well, his hamstring was hurt. But in this game, the Pelicans did something that they have not done with him yet. They brought him off the bench. It was the first game of his NBA career that he has not started. Pelicans won the game, 114-104 over the Bulls. Zion played 27 minutes, had 18 points and 6 rebounds. Look, it was his first game in over 2.5 weeks. He's played in 11 out of 27. I get any kind of skepticism with Zion Williamson. It's all well-earned. What if for the rest of the season the Pelicans brought him off the bench? And maybe even going forward with that. Look, the 27 minutes he played were more than all but 2 of the starters, but it's easier to control minutes, I think, coming off the bench where you can kind of plan for certain rotations to keep his minutes down. And I'm going to go back to somebody I've compared him with an awful lot, and that's Bill Walton, a guy who was an unbelievable Hall of Fame player when he played, but played about 42% of the available games when he was in the league. And now this was much later in his career. Walton was 33. But the best season he had after he got out of Portland was the 86 season with the Celtics, where he came off the bench. And he played about 20 minutes a game, and he was the sixth man of the year, and they managed to keep Bill Walton and his oft-injured, bulky feet on the court for 80 games that season, and it was the best of the 80s Celtic championship teams, that 86 team. And I'll use another Celtic as another example. Kevin McHale started less than 50% of the games in his career, another guy that's in the Hall of Fame. What if Zion became, for the rest of this season, and maybe past that, a sixth man? where you could keep his minutes down in the low 20s per game, he'd be an impact guy on any second unit. We know he's good enough to start, but he can't handle the minutes to start. What if this became a permanent thing? At this point, I'm trying to figure out what the Pelicans can do with Zion Williamson that is not going to just disrupt, everything. Because they can't make him the face of the franchise. That's over. He can't stay on the floor enough. They can't trade him right now because his trade value is so far down because of the injuries. What if he?
All it takes is one.
Well, that's true. Okay, I guess I shouldn't say they can't trade him, but I think trading him right this second would be difficult. But what if he established himself as one of the best 6 men in the court and could stay on the floor for 22 minutes a game over 50 games?
Good luck with that.
Well, I'm trying here. Like I said, hear me out.
A little different era. Bill Walton is no longer with us. We talk about how much pain he was in when he was going through that season.
Yeah.
Okay? How much pain is Zion Williamson playing through in this era? And he's not alone.
Probably not very much.
There's not a whole lot of guys playing through pain in this era. And Walton's was because his body was breaking down, not because of his lack of commitment to his conditioning. Now, which is, it's going to be a big deal for Zion, and it's been sporadic. You don't know what you get. You just
look. It's a long shot. They got to talk him into it. To where he buys into this over more than just a couple game deal, and his agents are probably going to get in his ear and start screaming. But if Zion Williamson goes back into the starting lineup and averages 33 minutes a game, we know what's going to happen.
Let him have a few good games or whatever, and because his stock is declining, and sell him before convince somebody. It's one of 29.
Yeah.
It's all it takes to be a buyer. He is a tease. Mm-hmm. You're teased right now. My money on. Good luck with that, Charlie.
No, I know.
Okay.
I don't think his agents would buy into it. I don't think he would buy into it. But I'm trying to increase his value by keeping him on the floor, and this is the only way I know to do it.
Your approach is extremely flawed in the current landscape of organization-player relationship in the National Basketball Association.
I might appeal to his selfishness. Say, hey, look, we know you want out of here. If he does want out of there, which I think he does. Hey, if you want to get out of here, we have to trade you for something. For us to trade you for something, you have to be on the floor. This is how you get out of here. Frame it that way if you have to. Like I said,
I think it's in his best interest to be on the floor and be productive. You don't think he has any clue of that?
All evidence to the contrary, Jimmy. I mean,
all right.
Should he know that? Yes. I mean, I would think he would understand that.
You don't think somebody's told him that? That somebody's.
Yeah, I'm sure he's been told that over, and I know Joe Dumars has told him that. I know C.J. McCollum told him that. I'm sure that many other people that I don't know have told him that. But this is a tangible thing where, hey, we're telling you when you can play. Remember when he came back the first time they put him on a minutes restriction and he was complaining all that time? They did it anyway.
Trade him before he has no trade value.
If right this second.
He is not the last piece of this puzzle.
No. I'm trying. I don't know that you could get a first-round pick for him right now. A protected first-round pick. I don't know if you could get that right now. And that's what the contract structured the way it is, which gives the organization some protection. I mean, maybe they could. Like you said, it only takes one. And if I were a championship, if I thought I had championship aspirations, okay, if I thought I needed one more piece, give me a team like Denver, okay? I'm close, but I'm not the favorite.
Well, I'm just going to save you some time.
It's not going to happen.
Sorry.
Yeah. I tried.
You know why? Because my last 2 visits to the Smoothie King to go see the Pelicans, he doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because an hour and you're having a nice meal before and you're going to the game. Well, he's scratched, so he doesn't exist. So, yeah, I'd love to go check out some games with my son and stuff. But no, that is old as far as you're walking into the building and they give you the starting lineups and you don't have any idea who's playing for either team. Nah. I'm good. Let me know when they play for the playoffs.
Gave it a shot. All right. No class. Doggone it, man. I want to root for Diego Pavia, yeah. The underdog story is great. he goes to one of the all-time dormant programs and injects a life into it that never seen before at Vanderbilt. He's fun to watch. Even when he was beating LSU, it's like, man, the guy's having fun. This is unique. He comes from New Mexico State, out of nowhere, goes to Vanderbilt, beat Alabama, beat LSU, beat Tennessee, almost beat Texas, going to New York for the Heisman. Beautiful, okay? Love the story. Probably would have voted, not probably, I would have voted for him if I'd have had a ballot, okay? You don't win. We understand why you didn't win, and you act like an ass afterwards. Kudos to him for apologizing, but didn't you know that going up there? Everybody wanted to root for you, and you showed your ass after. No class. I'm sorry. I love the way the guy plays. He could play for my team. He brings the swagger and all that stuff. What he did after the thing was no class, and he recognized it too. He apologized, but you didn't have to do that, man.
He was my first, second, and no class for this week.
Yeah.
Oh, well, because he did the impossible and it was celebrated over the weekend. Second class, he's gonna get a tryout in the NFL. I think he's more of a CFL quarterback, but he's gonna get a tryout.
I think he'll be on a practice squad next year.
Yeah, he's gonna get a tryout. So we'll see. And in no class, obviously, and you would think a guy that came from that appreciates everything would be more appreciative because, damn it, you came out. It's been 3 years ago or something. One, you'd have never gotten a path to an SEC school, and certainly wouldn't have got an extra year of eligibility through the courts. And this is what you show to appreciate. And by the way, how many guys did in college football that didn't get? Let's just do the math, Charlie. Say 136 Division I teams, 100 players on a roster piece, 13,000. I mean, that's how many guys you finished ahead of. That's how many guys you got more votes than. And there's always going to be somebody with more money, richer, more intelligent. The whole thing, tougher. Man, you got to have a perspective where you appreciate where you are according to most. And one guy beats you out. And you act like an ass?
Yeah.
What a.
Hope that it's a one-off. You didn't have to do that.
It's almost as if you went there and you didn't win and you finished the runner-up and, well, your brother gets on the air and calls the downtown athletic club a dump and trashes the whole pomp and circumstance of it too. Yeah.
We've seen it happen. Like
the Mannings did when Peyton didn't get it.
They really trashed the place, did they?
He trashed the place on his show on WWL.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I thought you meant
called it a dump.
I thought you meant
trashed the place, trashed the pot process. That would be Arch's dad. Yes.
I misunderstood you. I thought you meant went and trashed a room somewhere.
No.
And you know what I mean.
That's what those golfers.
First class, second class, no class. Brought to you by Supreme Rice. You cooking for the holidays? Make it with Supreme Rice. How about some gumbo? Be a pretty good gumbo weather right now. Make it with Supreme Rice. Down in Southwest Louisiana since the 1930s. Part of the Climate Smart program. Future generations of Louisiana farmers, reducing methane emissions, promoting water conservation. Whether you get the long grain, the medium grain, the brown, the jasmine, or the parboiled rice, the low glycemic rice for diabetics. Make it with Supreme Rice. You're going to save some money, get a great product. Pick it up at all your AG food stores, your Walmarts, your Rouses, everywhere you buy rice. Make it Supreme Rice. For more information, go to the website at supremerice.com.
I emptied my bag of parboiled rice last night, kind of gearing up for the chillier months. Do a little gumbo last night, so I got to go to Rouse's after the show today and get some more. Got to load up again. I did 2 big Ziploc bags last night.
Live at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And return here at Mike Anderson's. We're also brought to you by the Morris Insurance Group. Those hard-to-insure items, your big boy toys, your boats, your trailers, your motorcycles, your RVs. the Morris Insurance Group, take another look, and maybe you can get a better rate. Maybe you can get some of those uninsurable or tough to insure properties that need flood insurance through the Morris Insurance Group, morris-ig.com. Also for auto, homeowners, and commercial insurance. Call 225-201-0007, 201-0007. As for Buzzy Heidel at the Morris Insurance Group, get a free quote online at morris-ig.com. Max showed me the video during the break. You'd be happy to know that LSU landed on 67. The reaction was nothing short of championship level in the PMAC. Jimmy, you told the story more than once about free fries, the old Jazz games. When we were in school, LSU did promotions for video rentals, for fries, for all kinds of stuff. It was rally fries, I think, one year.
Chicken, walk-ons, and different little promotions.
You had to get to 100 points. My freshman year, you had to get to 100 points, and that was the Chris Jackson, Shaquille O'Neal team. So they got to 100 more than a few times, and most of these were obviously blowouts. So you end up with a 98 to 65 game, and the student section's just, dying for $1 off of, $1 worth of free fries or $2 worth of free fries. That's the only thing I can equate this to. This reaction.
Somebody sent us a video, and Kendall Gill, former NBA player for a long time, and he was on those great Illinois teams.
Yeah.
And they asked him the toughest guard he ever had, and Michael Jordan was number 2.
That caught my attention also.
And he said, I could slide with MJ. I mean, I couldn't slide with Chris Jackson, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. So when they played down here in the Assembly Center, he said, Lou Henson said, you got him. And so,
and that was a great Illinois team. Is that the one with all of every starter was 6'6"?
Most of them, Battle, Armin Gilliam, Marcus Liberty, Kendall Gill. There was that team that beat LSU, drilled them, and a very good LSU team. Drilled them, and it took one guy to beat them by himself. Well, Glenn Rice just got hot. They beat them in the semifinal. They were favored by like 8 or 9 points in that game, and would have been favored by the same amount over Seton Hall in the final. So a great team, one of the better teams not to ever win it. But he said, he says the crowd was cheering in Baton Rouge, and it's like, I didn't even know. He says he got shot off before I could even. I'd love to go watch him in warm-ups. He was worth. Maravich was in the league at that time. It was a little bit different. I didn't get to see him warm up, but I would go and watch Chris Jackson warm up early.
Because his unrelenting desire to be perfect, was what made him so great. And it, again, part of it was just his makeup. He had to make a certain amount of shots. He had to get it perfect every time before he was going to move on. And he had what remains one of, if not the quickest release I've ever seen.
He was Steph Curry before Curry.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have 6'6" size like a Michael Jordan that he could always get off his shot, and Jordan certainly improved his shot, but, Curry, was taller than Chris Jackson, but still by NBA standards is pretty short, and he's got to be so quick with his release. He's got to create a little separation. He's got to work on his quickness, and that's one thing that a couple scouts would tell me the first thing they look for. I said, "What do you look for? What do you look for? What do you look for?" Quickness. We can measure everything else, but the quickness and how quick can, Allen Iverson was so quick, because he was little and had to different style of player. He would attack the rim a lot more than Jackson, but man, it's just Steph Curry before Steph Curry. And keep in mind, you didn't have this 3-point line all coming up, in middle school, junior high, high school, to try and fine tune once we had that generation come up, they were way more proficient shooting the lines. That's why all the lines have had to move back a little bit. Those guys had to do it in the middle of their development, which is a lot tougher.
His freshman season was the year after or 2 years after the three-point line came in. The three-point line was 87, and his freshman year was 88. Yeah. Yeah, no, 88, 89. Okay, so his second year that the three-point line was in.
He's junior in high school.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like it's.
And you could tell when they would go through any kind of offensive, little mini slump, 2-3 possessions without one. He was getting a shot up the next time, and more often than not, he was going to make it.
And it's ironic that that's how when they had maybe the best shooter, they did have the best shooter in the game. It was a three-point specialist team that beat the best roster, not the best team, the best roster that LSU ever had. And it was a three-point specialist team, 3D.
Georgia Tech.
In Knoxville, because that team was probably going to the Final Four.
If they'd have gotten past Georgia Tech?
That team would have beaten Michigan State in the Superdome. That team would have beaten Minnesota in the regional final in the Superdome. And that's who Georgia Tech had to beat in those two games.
You know what I felt about that team? That if the season would have been 2 weeks longer, if they'd have had 2 more weeks up at the front because they were just starting to gel.
Oh, yes.
They were just starting to gel. 2 more weeks, and I think they'd have been hella beat.
I mean, Brian Oliver, Dennis Scott, and Kenny Anderson were just too much. And they were a pretty good underdog to Michigan State. Michigan State was Steve Smith's team that they were the number 1 seed in the regional, but LSU wasn't losing in that building. They were so close. And keep in mind, that was the same tournament, was one of the most memorable routes in the history, the most significant routes in the history of the NCAA tournament. And that's when Grandmama and Stacey Augmon and UNLV destroyed the Duke team right in the middle of their 4 straight Final Fours with Leitner, Hurley, and Grant Hill. I mean, destroyed them by 35. At half, Georgia Tech got the lead against UNLV.
I'd forgotten that. Wow. Yeah, because
Georgia Tech had the lead. That was in Denver.
I saw that Vegas team play in person
by
in
6
in the Assembly Center, and they were.
What year was that, Charlie?
It was in 1990.
Yep,
1990. LSU played them in the Assembly Center the day of the Super Bowl, the day the Elway, Montana Super Bowl down in New Orleans. LSU played them and beat them. Vegas was playing without Stacey Augmon that day, which was a big deal. But they were still way fun to watch, man. That was good times, man. That was a fun college basketball season, even though LSU came up a little bit short.
What year you said?
89-90.
Oh, 90. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course Duke came back and beat them the next 2 years. They beat Vegas in 91, and then they won it again in 92, and then they lost in 93 to Jason Kidd.
UNLV beat them 90-81 at halftime. Georgia Tech led by 7, 53-46.
That game I had forgotten.
It's all right, Charlie.
No, you here to pick up my slack sometime, man? Come on.
Don't forget our friends at Relief Windows. If your homeowners association requires wood windows like mine did, call. Don't make the mistake that I did originally, and that is went with the original construction of my home and just went with the standard, whatever the builder was using. I made a mistake. You got to get the Relief Windows from the wood windows. They're made with the RLS wood, gelled wood frame windows, come with a 20-year general warranty and a lifetime limited warranty against rot and termites, providing years of beauty and minimal maintenance. What it does is they last in these extreme South Louisiana weather conditions, the heat, the humidity, the snow, just the rain, just so much, man. It's tough on regular windows. They have to be treated like the wood windows from Relief Windows. Give them a call at 288-8138, 288-8138. They last. They look good. They're functional. They're easy to deal with. Give my friends at Relief Windows a call.
Live at Mike Anderson's. Live at Lunch 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Mike Anderson's Live at Lunch. First of the playoff games Friday night is Alabama and Oklahoma. Actually going to have reasonable weather for this game. December in Oklahoma, especially at night, might have been frigid. Clear skies, 51 degrees
That's not
on
bad.
Friday night. For December in Oklahoma. Of course, as soon as won this game in Tuscaloosa, Jimmy, I know we're going to have all of our guys on for the rest of the week. Going to pick this game, but before we get all of that, your early leans on this game based on what you saw the first time.
Oh, not a whole lot of points. Jam Miller, his injuries have been a part of Alabama's struggles in the running game, and part of it is that they don't have the physical element of their offensive line that they did when Nick Saban was there. There's some things that DeBoer, including his 2-point conversions, a fourth down success, that he does better than Saban, but they're not. The physicality of their teams, both sides of the line of scrimmage are not what they once were. But Oklahoma has really, really struggled on offense, but somehow they seem to connect on these big plays. They didn't have those plays against Alabama. It was a defensive score. It was the field goals from the guy who was, did he not win Groza, huh? They gave it to the kid from Hawaii. Yeah. So I was surprised because the kid from Hawaii didn't have any outside of 50, and this guy was 7 for 7.
Yeah, but he only missed one the whole year?
Both of them missed one.
Oh, well then, yeah.
Yeah, the Hawaii guy missed one in the last game.
Right.
Last game. It was under 40, but the kid from Oklahoma missed his first of the year, and that was it. So they were perfect on extra points. But anyway, but they're going to be on Norman, and, man, Venables, they're just well coached on defense. They're in position. The yards are hard. You have to execute at a high level to move the football on them. They don't miss tackles. They wrap up properly. And so their defense and their special teams, and when you got a kicker like this, you can afford to play these field position games because you can score. Because the kicking, he's so much better than what most teams have as a kicker. And he was the difference when they hung around in Tuscaloosa, and he kicks the field goal in the fourth quarter for the last points to turn a deficit into a short win. So I think Alabama is the advantage. I think they're a better team. They should have won the first time, but now you got to play at their place, and I expect a very, very tight game again.
John Mateer, after he came back from the injury, I thought was really beat up in the first few games back. It looked to me like starting with the Alabama game and ramping up through, they played Missouri and then they played LSU, that he was getting healthier, that he looked a lot more like the Mateer from September than he did from the middle of the season when he was beat up.
What games?
The last 2 games of the season, Missouri and LSU.
You did?
I thought he did.
He didn't do much against LSU. He hit the long passes.
He threw for 318
but most
yards.
of it.
But I didn't feel – now, he threw the interceptions.
Missouri game, too, Charlie, hit the long pass the first 15 plays of 15 yards.
But he also had 18 carries against Missouri. I thought he looked healthier, and I'm wondering what this break might do for him, and is he going to look more like the Mateer we saw in September than the one we saw later in the season, who I thought got, like I said, beat up a little bit because the hits started to pile up on him, I thought.
He had to have surgery.
Yeah, so
he had to have surgery in his hand, and so he was rushed back against Texas. He had no business playing in that one. I get that one, but he never got better as a passer. Now, there was no level of consistency. It was such a strange deal. They really struggled on offense, and all of a sudden, it's like every game, Ole Miss, he had long touchdown plays. Tennessee, Missouri, LSU. It's just like, how does this happen? They struggle. They got a lot of 3-and-outs in that offense this year, and then they pop these 70-yard touchdowns almost every game, and they did it twice against LSU to bail them out in that one.
They hit an 87-yarder against Missouri, 76-yarder against Ole Miss, 58-yarder against LSU. So you're right.
What was the other one against LSU? Didn't they have 2?
58 was the long. There was another one that was probably 40 or something. I wonder what he's going to look like in this game, because in the first game, he was pretty limited. He threw for 138 yards in that game. He ran for 23. He did have a touchdown on the ground. But I think that there's a chance he's going to be a lot.
That was pretty late in the season. That was right before LSU.
That's right.
Or Missouri.
In the middle of November. So given a month and given 2 full weeks off, I wonder if he may more resemble a healthy quarterback. I didn't think it all the times in the middle of the season that he was. If they win in Tuscaloosa, he throws for 138 and he runs for 23. So we're not talking about a big offensive performance here, and they still won.
Well, they're +3 in a turnover margin.
That was the whole.
And one was a 70-yard pick six. So
that was the whole.
Now, as far as Jam Miller's concerned, he's got concussions and like a broken collarbone. So he's not hitting the holes like he did earlier in the season. How much can he possibly come back? I don't know. But the thing is, Simpson's got to tighten it up. He has played better games, and is he the guy that you have enough confidence to go for it instead of kicking a chip shot field goal?
Yeah,
to give your team the lead with 2 minutes to go in the game, or you trust him a straight drop back on 4th and 2 to throw throw a really nice throw to give you the win at Auburn. Just don't know, but. He's got to really. He went for a long stretch without throwing any interceptions, and then he kind of got. Those are going to beat you in this game.
There's some belief that he's been dealing with some sort of back injury on the back half of the season. Maybe that's some of the slide.
I don't really see that. He's still running running plays. If they're doing that, they're still he had a big run against Auburn in the Iron Bowl. So if they're doing that, and that was by design. If they're doing that,
he's got a sore back. He's had 2 weeks to, kind of rest that as well. He threw for 326 in the first game against Oklahoma, and they still lost, like you said, because of the
I'll
three
tell
turnovers.
You what, anybody gets hit like he did in the SEC championship game is going to have a sore bunch of stuff.
Yeah, that's right. It's one less week for him.
Rocked,
no, he got hit.
He was getting hit and hit and hit and hit. That's as much of a beating as I've seen by a college quarterback in a lot of games, man.
Alabama averaged 2.5 yards a carry in that game. Oklahoma averaged 2.5 yards a carry in that game. One of these quarterbacks going to have to throw the football.
Yeah.
And make a play here and there, lest you get a special teams score, a defensive score, something like that.
Even with Mateer and they beat Michigan, he wasn't – it looked like he had that moxie. It looked like he had that feel, but he wasn't putting up crazy numbers, throwing the ball. He looked like he's more comfortable running the ball, but it just how would his season have gone? How would his development have gone over the course of the season if he didn't have that injury? And there's no doubt how much he was returned too soon. That was ugly against Texas. I think he threw 3 interceptions in that game, but how much rushing him back affected his recovery?
Given what I saw in the games after,
it sure lingered, huh?
Yes, I thought that it did.
Yes, Charlie.
I like Alabama in the game,
which
does not make me happy. That doesn't mean I have to root for them, but I think that they will probably win the game.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see with the break. Don't forget over here our holiday hours at Mike Anderson's. Christmas Eve, we are open from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. for lunch, but closed for dinner. Christmas Day, we are closed all day to give our staff to spend time with their families. New Year's Eve, we're open lunch only. So Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, open for lunch only. And then on New Year's Day, we're open normal. Lunch 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., dinner from 5 to 9 p.m. Of course, on the weekends, we're open all the way through lunch and dinner. You got some family coming in from out of town. They want some good South Louisiana cuisine. You take them over here to Mike Anderson's. A wide range of things to order, and always a hit for whoever we bring around. Get a little taste of crawfish, the crawfish etouffee and seafood gumbo, and the char-grilled oysters. Oysters on the half shell are beautiful this time of season, firm and salty. So you got some family in town this holiday season. Bring them over here to Mike Anderson's.
Live at Mike Anderson's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Yanni from Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee Drive on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We return here at Mike Anderson's. Again, get your gift cards here with a $20 bonus for every 100 here at Mike Anderson's. Wesley at Nicholson. So come on by here for lunch right here at the Oyster Bar. Get some good raw oysters here when we finish out. Premier top matchup in college basketball tonight. Louisville going to Thompson Boiling, take on Tennessee tonight.
Tennessee had a great win out in Las Vegas against Houston, avenged getting blown out in the regional final last year. Tennessee's still looking for that first Final Four ever in the history of their program. So Bruce Pearl and Barnes have both been to regional finals, but couldn't get over that hump. But man, then it slid, Charlie, and were beaten by Kansas without their best player out in Las Vegas, and then they lost in the I think it was in the ACC Challenge too, but they've gotten tripped up a few times, and I think they've got some really nice guards that can do a lot more than what Ziegler could last year. They got a lottery pick, maybe one of the freshmen, one of those top freshmen. We talk about how deep that freshman class is, but they're just kind of finding some things right now.
Lost at Syracuse. That was the big upset.
Yeah, lost it.
Louisville comes in at 9-1. They've got their only loss was to Arkansas, and they have wins over what was at the time a ranked Kentucky team and also Indiana, the top wins on their schedule. They're coming off of a 26-point thumping of Penny Hardaway and Memphis in their last
big,
their
almost
last
like 19-point favorites in that game.
So
yeah, Penny's down, man.
College
his
football
worst team since he's been there.
Veterans salute to Veterans Bowl 8 o'clock tonight. It's a bit of a late start in Montgomery for Troy and Jacksonville State. If you want your football fix today, let's get the bowl games pretty much every night moving forward, save for some Sundays.
Yeah, it's the Jacksonville State tonight. Is that right?
And Troy.
Salute to veterans.
Salute to
Troy
veterans.
and Jacksonville State. Both of these teams lost their conference championship game in the Sun Belt and CUSA, but they stay in state in Montgomery. Jacksonville State lost to Kennesaw State in the last minute. But I thought Troy was pretty impressive in James Madison. They hung around a lot more in that one on the road. So we'll have to see.
Thanks to the folks here at Mike Anderson. Tomorrow we're at Iverstein Butcher. From all of us here and Jordan back in the studio. Have a great day, everybody, and stay tuned for Hunt on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.